Very rarely. A matter of fact, most people have no clue as to what it is, or nor have they even heard about it. So we're just going to discuss it. But then some of you have, and it's a topic worth bringing up. So y'all ready? Get your popcorn out. Let's talk about it. All right. So tonight, guys, let me get started with a question. And Shanitha, let me just introduce you. It is Shanitha Johnson, and it is Teresa Barron. And
Yeah.
we are together right now on live streaming, both on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So now that I've made introductions, we are um, the shortened words are Wobiz fam. I want you to know that's a word we made up. It stands for women, business, family. So we have shortened those words, and as we do, and we made it up. But tonight we want to talk about something that we haven't discussed I don't think we have ever discussed it actually.
Yeah.
And what I want you to know is I'm going to ask you a question. Let me start with this question. Why is it that most people work for money, but very few people control how the money works? Why is
Mm,
that? Well, let me just say this much. Earning money and controlling money are two different skills. A lot of times it's a lot easier to make the money. Myron says this all the time. It's easy to make the money, but it's much harder to control the money, to know what to do with the money, to account for the money, to make the money make money. It's difficult to figure that out. A lot of times we find ourselves as consumers. See,
mm,
earning money and controlling money, as I mentioned, are two very different skill sets. And most of us were trained to earn, but not necessarily trained to build the systems. And the
mm.
systems make all the difference in the world. So tonight, we're talking about infinite banking, not as a trend and definitely not as hype because we just don't do hype, but as a principle. So just know this, whoever controls the banking function controls the growth. And the real question is, who's controlling ours and yours and theirs and yours, Shanitha? Who is
Right?
controlling yours?
Ooh. Ouch.
Tonight, we're talking about something that most women and men, because I'm on both channels right now, women who were never really taught. We were never taught the financial information. So, how to become your own source of financing? How do we do that? And stop paying all the interest to somebody who's not going to bring it back around to you. The
Okay.
topic, infinite banking. And if
Yeah.
you've ever been in life insurance, or if you've been in maybe network marketing, you may have already heard a little bit about it. But the thing I want you to know is before we get opinions involved and before we start getting too deep in the conversation, let's define it and let's define it in simple terms. So, infinite banking is a strategy where you can use a specially designed whole life policy, right? And people think of whole life policy as expensive, but
Mm.
it's the only permanent insurance. And I know that much from my days as a life insurance person. It is the only permanent insurance and it builds cash value. And that cash value, you can then borrow against that cash value instead of
Mm.
going to a traditional bank. Now, when you borrow any money, there's always an interest rate tied to it. So, when would now be the time to start paying yourself back that interest? So, instead of asking the bank for permission to use money that already kind of belongs to you,
Right.
you can build a system where you can access the capital by and controlling it all by borrowing against your own money. And for women in business, that control matters. So, Shanitha,
Ah, man.
take it.
This is
Take
going to be
it.
so good. But before we go any further, let's break down a key phrase, the banking function. A lot of y'all probably think y'all know banking because you've been banking your whole life. But do you really know? Okay.
Right.
The banking function is simply is this. Where do you store your money? How do you access it? And who profits when you borrow it? Oh my
Right.
God. When I learned this,
That's
I
the
was like,
question.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, most people store their money in the bank because they're trusted, right? We've been taught to trust the bank,
Hmm.
and they borrow from the same bank and pay interest to the same bank on their money.
Right.
Crazy. But with infinite banking, the goal is to build a private system. When I say private, I mean private for you, for your family, for your heirs. I mean your legacy, that kind of private system, okay? You build cash value, you borrow against your own policy, and when you repay it, that money flows back into your private system. Okay. You're not eliminating the interest that you have to pay, but you're redirecting it to you versus
Yeah.
giving it to the bank or giving it to Smo Joe who don't care where your money goes. Okay.
Right.
I mean, this topic is so good tonight, Teresa. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm excited about this.
Yeah. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing is this is important for women who are building something because when you're building something and you're raising a family, you don't want to have to keep repeating it. You want to
Mm.
eventually make your money make money. You want to be able to leverage it when you need it because every time you finance something, I don't care if you're in business, we are always spending money to get something done. And it could be equipment, it could be a car. Like for me, I still got to pay for a copier, and they're not
Right.
cheap. It's a big commercial copier. I got to do that. You could be investing in a number of different things. If you're a person in business, particularly a woman in business, you're going to need to invest, right?
Mhm.
You're either strengthening your own system or you're strengthening someone else's. And needless to
Man.
say, we need to be pouring into our own systems and strengthening our own systems instead of strengthening someone else's. Capital is simply usable money. You got to understand that. It's money that you can actually have access to, like right now, so you can go do what you want to do and get it done, right?
Mm.
So if every opportunity requires outside approval, you really are limited. You are limited with your expansion. You can't really do all the things that you'd like to do because what if somebody says no? What if
Mm.
they tell you, I'm sorry, we don't think you qualify? It's not going to be the first time that somebody has said that, right? So, anyway, infinite banking is about building liquidity. And there are multiple ways to do it. I think building liquidity is very important so that you can get to the resources that you need when you need it and not always be hanging on somebody else's yes or no. So it gives you flexibility, and flexibility gives you power. Power to control how you do your business, power to control how you live your life. So, Shanitha,
Wow. This
you know,
brings up so much right now. Think about how we as a people have we have blockage with getting capital. We want to invest in our business or have
yeah,
startup capital. And I see it a lot. And this goes back into why having infinite banking is so important, having your own system. If we had this, decades ago, we wouldn't be starting over constantly. And so
right.
what I want you to know, to be very honest with you, is that this is not a quick win strategy. It will not happen overnight. It
Nope.
requires structure, discipline, and to be designed properly. But what it does create for you, it creates stability. And
Right.
for us as women in business, balance business and family, stability matters just as much as growth does.
Yep.
Because the income alone does not provide security. You may be making bands, you may be stacking them. You got
Yep.
the bag, but it's not security. You hear me?
No.
Structure provides that. And
Hmm.
so having this infinite banking, it's almost not even optional if you want to leave something for your heirs, if you want to have something for them. Like there's so much you can do with this if you just knew the power of this system. Oh my God.
And I'm gonna tell you, we're all underinsured. I mean, most of
Yeah.
us,
Yes.
that life insurance piece, it's critical. Getting that life insurance together, it's critical. Do not sleep on that. You need to take a look and see what your options are right now, because the older you get, the more expensive it gets. But listen,
Yes.
if you have that policy in place, you can impact yourself in a thousand different ways where you can use your money the way you need to in order to support the family's needs. So,
And can I
so
add something real quick to that, real
yeah,
quick?
go ahead, go ahead.
And like Teresa was saying, like get it sooner, but also there's options if you are, later. But life insurance is not as bad as you think as far as costs. You think how much you spend on, food and subscriptions, you can afford a policy. I
Right.
remember as a life insurance agent how people was like so against it, saying like,
Right.
why do I need this? And it's like you need this, you don't even know you need it. And you would
Right.
have GoFundMe's every week if you knew that, if you had this mindset. I want to add that in there because some people think life insurance, they think about, oh my God, I can't afford it. You definitely can afford it.
You can definitely afford it. There are always policies that you can afford. And even for me, like for instance, my grandchildren,
Mhm.
they're younger, and so they can buy a policy at a very low rate. And as their
Yes,
grandmother, if their parents give me permission, I can put a policy on my grandchildren. And you know that life insurance policies do pay some interest, and the cost of the
yes,
policy, you can store money in a life insurance policy um, to a certain degree before you start running into the MEC laws and the problems with it looking like an investment. But
right.
life insurance companies are the some of the richest companies on earth, and there's a reason for that. So that
Okay.
money is being utilized in a manner, it's being invested into the markets, and so you just need to know that's a safe place to put some cash.
So
So
good.
it's important, and I think people don't really understand the value of it. And I think that as women in business, we can make a lot of money, but we don't really have necessarily the plan.
Mm,
Sometimes the plan stops at getting the things, but we forget about the quality of life that we need to be able to develop so that we don't have to keep doing the thing to get the money. We need to make that money work for us. The purpose
mhm.
is to make sure that the money is doing what it needs to do. That's the purpose.
Ooh.
It needs to grow more money. And
One
if
thing I'm
go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I'm
One
let you
thing I
go.
heard Myron Golden say was his money makes babies. They get pregnant. He never spends the parents, basically, right? He
Yeah,
only spends the kids.
right.
And it's like, if you can think about it like that, it's like it's a metaphor. You never spend the parents, you spend the children. You get them pregnant and you spend that.
Yes.
And that's what it makes me think about. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he says. He
Mhm.
says it all the time. We got to learn how to make our money make more money. And
Yes.
and right now the role that we play mostly is consumer, right?
Hmm.
And so our money is just going out. It's going out the window. And everybody wants to have some joy, but we got to figure out how to make that money make more money and only use the money that has earned money to
Yeah.
um, to have that joy, that fun. So let's just continue down this path, girl. We got to talk a little bit more. So
Yeah.
let's make it practical. There are four things to think about when it comes to infinite banking. First and foremost, pay attention to where your money is flowing right now. You've got to pay
Mhm.
attention. Every loan and every interest payment, every credit card payment, that's capital movement, and it means your money is moving away from you.
Right.
Second, um, you got to understand the difference between saving and building capital. There's a big difference. Saving stores money, and capital is money that stays active and usable. So even in the real estate world, if you could do it through real estate just as well as you can do it through
Right.
life insurance. You can leverage and see when I go to the store, if I've leveraged, I'm using a leverage dollar. This is not a dollar that I've earned. This is a dollar that I've borrowed. If I borrowed a dollar on my own asset, then and I take it to the store, nobody's asking me if I'm paying with my water with a leveraged dollar. They only
Right.
taking my dollar. It's green, it's US dollar bill. They don't really care. It's just a dollar. However, it's on the other side of the balance sheet. And one of the things that we have to understand is that if the money is leveraged, you're not paying taxes on it
Come
because
on.
it's debt, and it's debt you created. It doesn't, even in infinite banking, you're not paying taxes on that. You
Mm.
can use that money that you've got stored, and you can do everything you could do that you could do with an earned dollar, except pay taxes. And I think that is worth the whole conversation right there. Because
Yeah,
everybody
and
knows
some.
25 to listen, 25 to 30% tax rates and counting for anybody making 100,000 or more, you gonna
Hmm.
pay some tax.
Yeah.
So it's active capital, it's money that's active and usable. Third, study how interest works. It's very important to understand how interest works. Like mortgage interest does not work like credit card interest. One of them is not, one of them's an amortization schedule. So they're not giving you no breaks at all. And when they say it's 5%, really what they mean is it's 200%. Why? Because if you add up all the interest you pay, you will pay 200%. I don't care what they say.
Yeah.
It's not 5%. It's it's 200%. That's
Oh,
how much money you're going to give back to the bank. Okay? But if it's credit card interest, it is simple daily compounding interest. That's what it is. So if you pay it,
man.
if you give them $500, they're going to apply the $500, take their interest out and apply that $500 towards your account. But you need to know the difference between the two and how they work because it can really make a difference in how you spend your money, what you do with it. Um, Fourth, think long term. You got to think long term. Don't be short-sighted. This is
Mm,
about building something your family can benefit from for years. I know everybody's heard about, like, people are really quick to talk about trusts
mm-hmm.
and other sorts of instruments that help us to transfer our wealth into our families. We talk a lot about that. And just in the business community as a whole, we are always working to make sure that we got our will in place, our trust in place. Can we put it in an LLC? What else do we need to do to protect it? Well, this is one of the things you can do to help and to protect the money that you've earned so that your family can benefit from it years after you stop earning it.
Yes.
So,
Wow.
Shanika, it's a lot
Yeah.
to say here. It's a lot to say. This is very we're giving you the very basics. It gets deeper than this, but we want to at
Yes.
least begin to approach and introduce some of these subjects so that you can begin to take a look at it and maybe start asking questions and maybe start learning from a deeper level. And Shanita, take it away.
Yeah. And if you have any aha moments, like, oh my God, intriguing moments, just stick around. We'll have more conversations like this and go, go scratch more surfaces because this is really surface level. But
Mhm.
this is just bigger than just a financial tool. It is how we think about money as women, as anybody, but how we think about money, right?
Right,
For a long time, we were taught how to earn, and we still taught that way, just to earn. But none of us really was taught how to control money. I've never had a conversation in my life from a family member or parent about how to control money. They didn't even know.
right.
But there is a difference between earning and controlling, okay?
Yeah, and that's why conversations like this really matter. It matters that we're talking about it because wealth principles are rarely taught in everyday life and they're not taught in school.
Mm.
Definitely, this economy was designed to have worker bees and for you to be, looking for your job that somebody else is going to give you, and for you to be cooperative in getting that job and to stay there for 40
40
years
years.
so that you
Mm.
can retire on 40% when you couldn't hardly live on 100% to begin with.
And
So
struggle.
this is design. This is a design, a perfect plan for, indentured servants. You give up all your time and you get very little money and very little resource for return. You get a little bit of security, the assurity that well, I don't even know if you get that, but you get a little bit more assurity that you're going to get a check every week. That's what you get as long as you give up
Mm.
all your time.
Come
So,
on.
because wealth principles, we're rarely taught, they are learned in intentional rooms too. So you got to put yourself amongst people who are wanting to talk about it. Otherwise, it becomes a you don't even know, and you don't even know that you don't even know.
Okay, it's like you like a zombie. And just next time as you go out into the world, go to the store, pay attention to people you encounter, the cashiers. Most of them are retired, but they back working. And so I hope this conversation really blessed you. It really, really like triggers something in you. So if you're a woman in business, balance the business, income, family, and long-term vision, you don't need to try harder. You don't need to hustle harder. You just need understanding, strategy, and community.
Yeah.
Inside the Wobiz Fam Circle, we have real conversations about money, leadership, and legacy in a way that actually applies to your life and as you as a whole woman. And if you're ready to think differently about how your money works for you, join us inside the Wobiz Fam Circle. The link is in the description box below. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. You don't
Yeah.
do life alone. Don't do business alone. Don't build wealth alone. Join us in the Wobiz Fam Circle, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all. Okay.
Damn.
And
So
those
good.
they can also join us on YouTube.
Yes,
Right
YouTube.
there, Wobiz fam on YouTube. As a matter of fact, do me the greatest favor and go. And I want you to like and subscribe. You know the drill. You know the drill. I need you to like and subscribe. It's very important that we begin to share this information. And if it's benefiting you, if you're liking it, please go like and subscribe and help a sister out, help two sisters out so that we can grow this community. And we are here for you every Monday night on YouTube. And then if you're seeing me from this perspective, you are on my page watching. So we always try to bring it to you,
To others.
bring it to others, make sure we're sharing. Sharing
Yeah,
is caring, right? And with that said, I want you to have a really, really good night. And I'll see you next Monday.
absolutely. See y'all next week.
See
Bye,
you next week.
everyone.
Good night.
All right, let me